All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. European roots with that Caribbean soul. Pick up a refreshing German lager in a can, your local Sedanos, Presidente, Winn-Dixie. Go to johnnycuba.us. You could use the Johnny Locator. You can find out where the nearest Johnny Cuba is to you. How else are you going to enjoy the NBA Finals tonight or the Stanley Cup Final tomorrow night? Make sure you always drink responsibly, and don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us now is our pal, Bally Sports' Jessica Blaylock. Jessica, we're one day away from another opportunity for the Panthers to win their first ever Stanley Cup. Now, you were in the building in Sunrise for Saturday night for the watch party. Can you give me a little bit of the rundown of what it was like before the game? Just the whole scene there with the crowd amped up thinking they got a chance to win it that night.
It was unbelievable. And I'm sure you saw some of the videos of how early people were lined up to get into the arena. And it truly had the atmosphere of a home game. You know, the arena was packed. All of the pregame festivities, everybody shouting red and night during the national anthem. Obviously, there was such a buzz, such an excitement with this fan base knowing what the Florida Panthers are potentially on the verge of doing. So it was incredible. And I just remember thinking to myself how far the Florida Panthers have come, right? Especially over the last decade. My first season of covering the team to where they are now, to what the team looks like, to what they have accomplished out on the ice for the last several years in particular. And it really did. It gave me chills. It gave me goosebumps. And despite the outcome of the game, it was really, really special and really cool to be able to partake in just the excitement in South Florida for this Florida Panthers team.
The watch party's not for me. Like, I like the idea of it. I think it's cool that everybody can get together and, you know, it's like you're at the game and you're celebrating together. But like someone asked me the day before, hey, are you thinking of going to the watch party? I go, no chance. Because I need to watch it in a controlled environment. You know, I need to watch it here around all the people that I trust, meaning my boys. And I don't know what my reaction's going to be if they win. Like, I don't need to be blubbering in front of people that I don't know. So I have to watch it here in the ZASLOW Mansion Sirius room.
Well, and for me, it's complete opposite, right? Like, I wanted to be surrounded by people who were just as excited and just as happy and just as, you know, going out of their minds, delirious, if the Panthers were able to complete the sweep. You know, I didn't want to watch it by myself at home. I wanted to be surrounded by people who were going just as nuts as I was. So that to me is the appeal of the watch party, is you get to literally be in solidarity with 20,000 other people who feel exactly the same way as you do about the team hoisting a cup. And so I don't know. I think that was the appeal of it, is I wanted to make sure that whatever I was doing for that game, I was surrounded by people that I could celebrate it with, whether I knew them or not. We were all going to be united and connected over one particular reason. So either way, though, I totally get everybody has their own thing, right? Some people want to be able to lock in. They want to watch it by themselves so they can just completely pay attention to every single thing that's going on. Some people want to be out and about. Some people want to be at a watch party. Whatever you want to do, whatever your thing is, especially for a potentially clinching game, I say go for it. But for me, I really wanted to be kind of in the thick of it if the Panthers were gonna seal the deal in Game 4.
Building's going to be bananas tomorrow. Like, that's one of the things where I got the question from a couple people going into Game 4 where it's like, Zaz, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to root for. You know, I want the Panthers to win, but it'd be really cool if they lost tonight and then they could win it on home ice. And I'm like, listen, this is not a real discussion. You want them to win it tonight, all right? You want
Without
them to
a
win
doubt.
it right away.
Yeah.
But it does take the sting away knowing that, okay, this game's over. Winning it at home will be pretty damn great.
Oh, absolutely. And I always had the Panthers in 5. That was my prediction before the start of this series. And I'm with you. I would have absolutely loved a sweep. As much as I want the Cats to be able to win it on home ice, I would have 1,000% taken a sweep, taken a Game 4 victory. But I guess if you want to say there's a little bit of a silver lining, it is the fact that now the Panthers get to come back to South Florida and potentially win it on home ice in front of the fans. And the atmosphere is going to be absolutely ridiculous. It's going to be, I just think it's going to be.
I'll tell you, the atmosphere better be ridiculous for those ticket prices. Are you kidding me?
I know. But it would be totally worth it. I mean, you think about, I know for me personally, one of the things that I was thinking about is the fact that I've been a sports reporter now for 15 plus years. This is the first time in 15 plus years that one of the teams that I cover has the opportunity to win a championship. It's so hard to not only get to the Stanley Cup final or to get to the NBA final or to get to the World Series or the Super Bowl. When your team has an opportunity to win it, you got to take advantage. You know, you have to take advantage. And so, yeah, I see the ticket prices. And if I wasn't working baseball, I might consider pulling the trigger and doing it. But either way, we'll still figure out some way to celebrate, hopefully on Tuesday night.
I mean, Jess, granted, it was the first round, but once the series came back to Sunrise to clinch against Tampa for Game 5, I was like, all right, I've never been at a clinching game. Let's go. Took my younger son, and we went to the game. And I understand first round, but we bought tickets. It was first row in the upper deck, which is where we always love to sit. We love first row upper deck. First row upper deck, $90 a piece. $90. And now, what a deal, right? And now, just to get into the building, it's over $1,000 for tomorrow night's game. Unbelievable.
Hey, we should have played that game where I try and guess prices. Didn't we do that one?
We have done that before. You're terrible at it.
Yeah. My numbers.
You're very bad at that game. You're very bad at it. So, hey, are you nervous going into tomorrow? Because there's a major difference between the NBA and the NHL where, like, tonight, okay, so same thing happened to the Celtics. Chance to close it out on the road, and they got their shit kicked in. So now they got a chance to come home and win it on the home court. It's so different, though, in basketball, because if you're a Celtic fan going into this game tonight, I am 99.9% confident that the Celtics are winning this game tonight, but hockey's a different animal.
Well, yeah, and just because the two sports are so different, right? In the NBA, one player can truly dictate how a game goes. And in hockey, you really need every single piece of the equation to be on the same page. You do have the exceptions, right? Like Game 1 against Edmonton, that game was totally about Sergei Bobrovsky. Bob was unbelievable in the net, but for the most part, that is the exception versus the rule. So to answer your original question, am I nervous? I'm nervous only in the sense that I just so desperately want to see the Panthers win a cup. So there's just the natural nerves of knowing how close you are, but also understanding that you still have to find a way to close it out. And I also think sometimes the tricky thing is that momentum always seems to lie with the team who won the most recent game, right? But when I look back, not only at the playoffs, but the regular season of what the Panthers have done, you know, everybody thought that the start of the year was going to be so difficult for the Panthers because they were playing without Ekblad, Montour, and Sam Bennett. And what did the Panthers do? They didn't just tread water. They had a great start to the season. And then what do? They end up winning the Atlantic Division when everybody thought that Boston had that wrapped up. And then what do? They come into the playoffs and they knock off the Tampa Bay Lightning. And even looking back at that series, you know, they had won the first 3 games And then Tampa wins the 4th game, and everybody's like, oh gosh, okay, now all of a sudden Tampa's turning the tide in this series. Well, then they end up closing it out. Then they go and face the Boston Bruins, who were coming off of an emotional overtime win against the Toronto Maple Leafs in their first round series. Boston wins game 1 of that series. And what do people feel? Oh, the Bruins are going to sweep the Panthers. And then the Panthers take care of business. That Rangers series, the Rangers win game 2 and game 3 in overtime. And everybody's like, okay, well, Panthers have finally met their match in the playoffs in the New York Rangers, who won the President's Trophy. What did the Panthers do? They end up winning that series. Right now, I know it was a bad loss the other night, but the Panthers are still up 3-1 in this series.
I mean, think about it this way, Jess. If game 4 was game 3, if it switched around, and it's the same thing, we're up 3-1. If we lost game 3, 8-1, and we won game 4, 4-3, be feeling amazing.
Everybody,
right
that's what I'm saying, and that's what even Paul Maurice made that point. He said we went into Edmonton and we got
They got it done.
We did what we needed to do. Yeah. So I get it, because I promise I am as emotionally tied into this as anybody else. But this team has given us zero reason to doubt them.
Yeah.
Zero reason to doubt them. So,
and I also think it's a big deal where, look, now we get back. You want to talk about home ice doesn't mean anything. Home ice plays a big role when it comes to the line changes. And so now, back home for game 5, Paul Maurice can get back to trying to have Barkov and Forsling on the ice at the same time, which was very rare on the road.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. And that is a huge aspect of that home ice advantage. So like I said, from the start, I had Panthers in 5. I'm sticking with Panthers in 5. I think they get it done tomorrow night, and I think they get it done in front of the home crowd.
Now, how will tomorrow night look for you? Because you're working the Marlins, and the Marlins did move the game up a little bit.
They did.
But thinking about it, okay, so if it's a 6-10 game for the Marlins, that game will probably end maybe 8:45, 10-9, something like that. So the first period of the Stanley Cup will be on while you're working. So what? And of course, a little bit of Marlins live post game. What will that look like for you? Will you be able to check on your phone while you're doing reports from the field or whatever? Like, how's that going to work for you?
Oh, yeah. I always pack my iPad when I know that there's going to be a playoff game going on. And same for, when I'm covering hockey and baseball starts, I'll bring my iPad to hockey games so I can keep an eye on the Marlins. So yeah, first off, shout out to the Marlins for moving the game up half an hour from 6:40 to 6:10, and doing that in solidarity and support of the Florida Panthers, and wanting to make sure that fans had the opportunity to enjoy both baseball and playoff hockey. So yeah, I will be working the Marlins game, but I will definitely, once 8:15 rolls around or so, and whether we're in the 7th inning, whether we're in the 8th or 9th or whatever it may look like, I'll definitely have the game pulled up on my iPad and taking glances and keeping track of what's going on. But luckily, I mean, we know puck drop is what, at 8:20 or so?
8:20.
So hopefully I'm really only missing the first 10-15 minutes of the first period. And like I said, I'll keep an eye on it on the iPad. And then I'm sure Craig Minervini and I will figure out a plan for after the postgame show is over, and we'll go catch the rest of the game, because certainly don't want to miss out on if the Cats get the opportunity to hoist their first ever Stanley Cup.
I'm on ESPN tomorrow night during the game. I'm on ESPN from 7 to 10.
Really?
So if the timing works, I'll get done like at the start of the second intermission. I'll be able to watch the third period completely uninterrupted, but the game will start around 8:20. Second period will start around, 9:10-ish, maybe 9:15. Right. And I'll have the entire third period to myself with my boys, but I'm going to have the game on while I'm reacting live on the air. I told them, I said, listen, this is what you get. I am who I am. I'm going to be watching the game while we're doing the show. This is what the show is tomorrow night if you want me to work. So I'll be on ESPN Radio tomorrow night in a very similar spot as you. How about that?
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that everybody that I work with with the Marlins, they know where I'm coming from. They know where Craig is coming from. You know, they know that we both have covered this team for years and years, and that there is that emotional tie-in and that connection. So even, you know, my pre and post game producer does the pre and post game shows for the Panthers. We have a lot of crew members who do both hockey and baseball. So I promise you, we're gonna do the best Marlins broadcast we possibly know how. But there are also going to be a lot of people who are anxiously awaiting being able to jump in and watch the Panthers game as well, because we've all poured our hearts and soul into covering this team, and, you know, just what it would mean not only for the fans, but people who cover the team to be able to see the team win a championship. So go Panthers. Hopefully in the next 24 to 48 hours, we are all celebrating big time.
Excellent job, Jessica. I think tomorrow night's going to be a forever night. It's all really, really exciting. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us today. Appreciate it.